Hello, I'm Bob Schieffer, and welcome to the CBS Evening News online edition. Just ahead, a way out of that controversial ports deal. The Dubai-based company says it no longer wants the job. Jim Axelrod will have details. Also, we have the story of a Palestinian man in Texas who has been in prison for 2 years but never charged with crime. And we'll give you a look at the most exclusive club in the world. All you need to get in is several $1 billion. It's all starting now on the CBS Evening News online edition. When word came that a company controlled by the Arab country of Dubai was about to take over operation of 6 American seaports, congressional Republicans howled in open rebellion and Democrats couldn't believe it. But President Bush was adamant if Congress passed legislation to block the deal that had been arranged by the White House, he vowed to veto it. Well, yesterday it became clear that Congress intended to do just that, and the backstage maneuvering began to find some way out. And today it came. The company said it no longer wanted the job. Here's White House correspondent Jim Axelrod on how it all happened. Jim?
Well, Bob, just 7 minutes after the White House press secretary said that the president hadn't changed his position on the ports deal, Senator John Warner, who brokered the solution with the president's knowledge, took to the floor of the U.S. Senate and announced the way the deal would die. Warner quoted the head of Dubai Ports World.
Because of the strong relationship between the United Arab Emirates and the United States, and to preserve that relationship, DP World has decided to transfer fully the U.S. operation of P&O Ports North America to a United States entity.
The move didn't offer the president much except a way to make a growing rift with Republicans in Congress go away. It was clearly a different ending than what he so stridently pursued, allowing a company controlled by the UAE to operate ports in at least 6 American cities. At first, Mr. Bush said he'd veto any bill to kill the deal.
And it would send a terrible signal to friends and allies not to let this transaction go through.
But the deal was hugely unpopular with the American people, and therefore with his own party leadership. No matter what he said to try to change that.
I repeat to the American people, this wouldn't be going forward if we weren't certain that our ports would be secure. But
he couldn't. When it became clear Congress had enough votes to override a veto, it was over. Still, even today, the highest-ranking military officers said the deal did not present a security risk.
I'm very dismayed by the emotional responses that some people have put on the table here in the United States that really comes down to Arab and Muslim bashing that was totally unnecessary.
This has also been less about policy and more about politics, and the emotion among Republicans, relief.
If Dubai Ports is divesting itself of all the American aspects of the contract, this is over. We can all go forward. There's no acrimony. There's no more problem. There's no more division. We all stand together.
At the end of the day, it was the government of the UAE that read the writing on the wall and offered the White House cover. In the words of one official from the United Arab Emirates, we have to help our friends. Bob?
Jim, I want to bring in our political correspondent, Gloria Borger, here. Gloria, regardless of the security aspects of this, there were red flags all over this thing. Why didn't the White House see this coming?
Well, Bob, first of all, they were caught flat-footed in the first place because they didn't know about this deal. Senior staff in the White House weren't informed about it. And even though the vice president and top presidential advisor Karl Rove spent a lot of days on the telephone trying to talk Republicans out of opposing them, there was no way they could put this genie back in the bottle. Republicans say they have to establish their own credentials on national security with the president who's at 34% in the polls.
Well, Jim, the White House, once the deal did happen, why didn't they move faster on it?
Well, let's not forget that they were sort of hamstrung. The president used the word veto at the top of this, and then they had to play the deck of cards that they were dealt. Once veto was thrown out by the president, that clearly delineated the lines, put the Congress on one side, the administration on the other, and the president's people could only move but so far with that.
So what happens next, Gloria?
Well, I think right now the White House is trying to put out the word that everything is fine with Republicans and with this president on national security. But they still are at odds over NSA wiretaps. This isn't going to go away. And the bottom line here is, Bob, that this White House does not have good relations on Capitol Hill. They didn't have a well of goodwill to draw upon, and it came back to haunt them.
Okay, well, thanks to both of you. After months of battles with Congress, President Bush today signed legislation that renews the Anti-Terrorism Patriot Act. The new law does include some additional protections of civil liberties. Even so, some critics still don't like it. And in one case, we found a Texas couple that blames the Patriot Act for ruining their marriage. And she is a government security worker. Kelly Kobayea has the story.
A 4-hour road trip to a minimum security prison on a dusty West Texas road. This isn't the way Ray Alafuni envisioned married life.
It's our anniversary today. We've been married 6 years. You know, we should be going out to dinner or something tonight, not this.
Mahmoud Alafuni has been in prison for 2 years, but never charged with a crime. He's a Palestinian fighting deportation back to Jordan because the Department of Homeland Security says he's a terrorist and a danger to national security.
I don't know how that could be. I've been here for over 9 years. I didn't do anything wrong. Not here, not in Jordan, not anywhere.
As a young college student in Jordan, Alafuni raised money for the Palestine Liberation Organization. The government didn't seem to care about his PLO connection when he first applied for U.S. residency in 1998. Nor did they raise concerns after 9/11, when his wife landed a job as an airport screener with the Transportation Security Administration.
They didn't want to put him in jail then. They didn't want to deport him then. They didn't care.
But it all changed in October 2002 when Alafuni applied for permanent residency based on his marriage, and the judge invoked the Patriot Act. The broader new laws meant that Alafuni was seen as an alien who had engaged in terrorist activity and was not admissible to the United States. The Department of Homeland Security wouldn't talk to CBS News, but in court has claimed that Alafuni was more than just a passive participant in the PLO. And while the immigration judge found no evidence that his charity work funded terror, the government says Alafuni should have known better.
He raised maybe a few $100s? That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about some big wig in the PLO.
Alafuni's attorneys argue it's a double standard. According to the State Department, the U.S. government has given the PLO's successor, the Palestinian Authority, $1.3 billion since 1993. Ray Alafuni was on duty when she learned that federal agents had arrested her husband. The TSA tells CBS News that she's a model employee and is not concerned that a sister agency has branded her husband a terrorist. She's been told her husband holds the key to his freedom. Drop all appeals and he'll be deported immediately to Jordan. For Ray, it's an impossible option.
So I will have to make a choice between him or my family. And that's a choice that's very hard to make.
Unless the appeals court sees it Alafuni's way, it may be the only choice left. Kelly Kobayea, CBS News, Haskell, Texas.
We have something here I bet you've never seen. This is a rare $10,000 bill just transferred by armored car from a Chase Bank in Green Bay, Wisconsin to the J.P. Morgan Chase Archives in New York. That's old Salmon Chase there, Treasury Secretary under Lincoln and namesake of the bank. The bill is estimated to be worth $60,000. Well, $10,000, $60,000, it's all chump change to the people in our final report tonight. They are billionaires, and there are more of them than ever. Here is Anthony Mason.
He was at 3. Now
Louisa Kroll and Allison Fass led a team of 30 Forbes reporters who ranked the world's wealthiest for this week's Billionaires issue.
A billion just isn't what it used to be. There are now 793 billionaires. 3 years ago, there were only 476.
For the 12th straight year, Microsoft founder Bill Gates is the world's richest man with $50 billion. Investor Warren Buffett trails in second with a meager $42 billion.
I think for a cover we have...
Newcomers include cover boy Calvin Ayre, a Canadian who's built a $1 billion online gambling empire. India now has 23 billionaires.
Almost half of the world's billionaires are right here in the U.S., 371 to be exact, and between them, locked in the bank vaults, are assets worth well over $1 trillion.
Martha Stewart fell off the list this year, but Donald Trump is still on it. He's number 278.
Is it easier to make $1 billion now? There are more billionaires.
I think it's probably easier now than ever before, yeah.
And why is that?
Because there are more ways to do it.
So I thought I'd try and design something better.
British vacuum inventor James Dyson has literally sucked up his fortune. India's Tulsi Tanti made his out of thin air by building Asia's largest wind farm.
It's good to be on the list.
Billionaire Ronald Lauder, heir to his mother Estee Lauder's cosmetics fortune and founder of New York's Noy Gallery, says even for him, looking at the list can get depressing.
Why? Because some people in their 30s are worth at least $10 billion. And I say, hey.
The world's youngest billionaire is now Hind Hariri, daughter of slain Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik Hariri. She's only 22. Around the world, Louisa Kroll says the biggest fortunes aren't growing as fast.
So we're not going to have a trillionaire anytime soon?
No, I don't think so. I don't even think we're going to have 100 billionaire anytime soon.
49 countries are now home to at least one billionaire. Membership in the club may be spreading, but it's still not easy to get in the door. Anthony Mason, CBS News, New York.
More stories are just a click away, but don't forget to join me on television for the on-air edition of the CBS Evening News. On Friday's broadcast, he is a classically trained musician, but you'd never heard music like the hip-hop violinist plays. He's your pick for this week's Assignment America. For CBSNews.com, I'm Bob Schieffer.